Okay guys, just left the home entertainment show 2022 in Long Beach, went over to Anaheim, going to spend a few days at Disney, so I decided to go ahead and record now my summary wrap up because it'll be a while before I'm back in Houston and have time to do what I normally do, a curated one. I do still have to do some curated videos for that experiment we did with the Voss room and an LP that we did prior to cleaning and restoration by Kirmus, and then after. That's going to be really fun to show you how important things like that are. And then also I've got some stuff for members that I can only upload when I'm at a desktop, membership stuff. And really I only will put stuff that I found disappointing, of which really there's only maybe two things I have that fall under the disappointing in terms of my expectations were really high. But I like to put that only in the membership section and not call out brands, because show conditions are just so tough. Things go wrong. Even just being speakers getting wired out of phase by accident happens all the time. And you know, even Ari Surratt, when I first encountered him many years ago, their room, whoever was running the room back then, had the speakers wired out of phase. So it happens to the best of companies, best of brands. You shouldn't let that be a determining factor. If you have one bad experience or one disappointing experience in a room, things happen at shows that you don't know about, and sometimes they don't even know if some of this equipment gets damaged in shipping. So you may be hearing a piece of equipment that's not even functioning properly. And I think that's the case with one room that I'm going to talk about, because it just did not sound right at all, and this is very high level gear. But in any case, talking about best rooms, which again, almost all the rooms had very satisfactory level of performance. There were some pretty weird designs that really aren't my taste, but you can kind of tell. If I go back to rooms multiple times, I stay in rooms for a long time, you can kind of tell just from that subliminal thing that I do which rooms I like and dislike. So if I leave any out because I'm doing this off the cuff, I apologize. I'm trying to remember the ones that really stood out to me. And I'm also, what I like to do on my channel is, you know, focus on ones that are smaller companies, and also ones that are doing something a little bit innovative, a little bit different, off the beaten path, that again may push the industry forward with a new design or idea. So to that end, I want to give a lot of credit to a room I just heard today for the first time at this show, although I've heard them at Expona, was extremely impressed, was the Alta Audio and Infigo. And if you recall, at Expona, we actually had Dave's track on the CD that he was participant at, the recording of it, and it sounded great in that room there. And I was like, wow, that Alta speaker really caught my attention. Of all the box speakers, point source box speakers at Expona, that is one that I said I could own. And so it didn't disappoint here either. That mid-range and tweeter just really integrate so well. One's not dominating the other. It's very natural, not boxy. And so whatever he's doing with that mid-range transmission line, he's doing something that's really impressive. A lot of what he was talking about in that video was over my head. And quite frankly, one tip, if you are watching some of my videos, I'll usually go in when they're playing music, but you might want to listen until the end, because sometimes when the music stops is when I get a chance to talk with the people in the room and ask questions. And sometimes that's more valuable than the actual listening to the music, because it's limited what you can tell. And it might not even be a song you like, the volume may be wrong, all kinds of other things. Don't make a judgment off the music. Learn about the design behind it, the people behind it. That can also, you know, tip things in your favor in terms of which brands you want to focus on auditioning yourself. And so Alta Audio and Infigo, I've seen them at 3 straight shows. They're definitely ones that I would want to hear again and put on my list if I'm in the market for point source box speakers. And the amplification from Infigo, really cool, Class A. That chassis is really cool, runs really cool to the touch, so double coolness. And so they're going to be at the Seattle Pacific show with an even bigger model of the Alta Audio speaker, and I'm anxious to hear that, because really from the mid-range and tweeter level, I'm anxious to see if they could get that even better. I don't think there's much room for it to improve. Now, bass, you can always get a little more impact, a little more pitch definition, a little bit more of the non-cabinet feel, which I think this dipole is going to have in Seattle. So that might be where the delta improvement is with this next model up. So I'm kind of going to book that trip just so I can hear this speaker and see just how much better it is than the one I heard, because it's already at a super high bar where it is. Another one that I featured I really liked was the Margulis and Rydo room. And really, Rydo is a great speaker on lots of performance metrics, but it's one that I've always, sometimes when I'm listening, the tweeter tends to call attention to itself, and I feel like, okay, now I'm listening to a speaker, or I hear the tweeter. It was very precise, detailed on all kinds of other metrics, exceptional. But that's a speaker that I never really warmed to totally. But with the Margulis, I mean, there was only a few times where I thought, some of the trademarks that I personally wasn't a huge fan of Rydo for, that I heard, and they got rid of most of those altogether, and then all the strengths of Rydo were amplified to me. So definitely thumbs up to that room. Margulis and Rydo were among the top rooms that I heard, and I spent a lot of time in there with great music as well. Great people behind Margulis, another company you want to support. Obviously the Voss room I spent time with, and last year was the first time I saw them at this show, and they were very impressive with the Graham speakers. But this year with the PBN, and that's one room I wanted to go back to, the actual PBN room, but I quasi had both Voss and PBN together in the Voss room, and I went there several times, and that was a very impressive combination. Very difficult room. It was very difficult last year, the way it was set up, and this year that room sounded even better the way he had it set up. Very difficult. You don't know a speaker and you're borrowing it from your neighbor's room and having to make your electronics to it and set it up in a very inopportunistic type environment. So kudos to him for getting maximum performance. All of these rooms, may not be as good as your home room, and may not be as great as what you hear at home. But I think if you went in that Voss room, and other people mentioned it when they saw me, and they was like, yeah, this is one of my favorite rooms. There are aspects of that sound, that speaker, and his electronics that were very appealing, and you can sniff the potential there of that being a really good performer in almost any environment, especially if you even have more time. But as is, was one of my favorites. What else is great? On the budget area, I got to give it to SVS. They're little bitty $799. That's great. And the whole speaker combined and amplifier, everything you need, good to go, full range. That's a great product. We did the home theater with the visual. He played a DVD concert. I'd asked for Bocelli, and I think he thought that was Bocelli, but that wasn't Bocelli. It was more opera, but it was really good. And then they did some movie stuff that I showed. Kudos to them. That is another company that, if you're in the budget, you can go with all SVS and feel comfortable that you're getting, high quality sound for the money. It may not be the best in the world. You can nitpick certain things about it, but you're not getting ripped off, okay? It's a really good product, full range sound, dynamic, clear, detailed. All of the metrics that are at the basic level you want is there. Okay, the other ones that were the budget one, the Black Ocean Audio, I mentioned those guys, the guy starting off from scratch. It's not a perfect speaker, not perfect, and he's gonna definitely grow and learn as he goes. But for a first step, and what he was doing with that crossover box as part of the stand, and the quality of construction of that cabinet, those are much more advanced than you would think from somebody's first project. So yeah, good luck to him, and another shout out to that. Again, PBN was great. The other one that I went to 3 times was the Verity Audio, Thrax, United Home Audio, Oz and them. I keep missing their late night antics because I do my own late night antics, but I'm gonna have to coordinate next show where I get to hear, because I hear about it the next day, how great it is at after hours at Oz's room. They always during the day play it like it's a party. I heard Rage Against the Machine, everything, cool music, and of course, Greg from United Audio sent me an email saying, I got a surprise for you, come on in. Came in, sat down, he didn't tell me what it was, started playing Greg Brown's brand new 64 Dodge and on the analog tape, so that definitely gave me thumbs up. It was awesome to hear. And what was kind of funny is the guy that was there before me in the sweet spot left the room before that started, but I guess he heard enough of that song and liked it, similar to, I guess, most people I know, and I love that song. He came back and asked, what song is that, after leaving the room. So yeah, it's a song that you should like Greg. Almost everybody likes Greg Brown, but one thing I like about Greg Brown is he also helps you as an audiophile kind of stay in tune to what is important in some cases. You know, he is such a great lyricist that when you sit down and listen to Greg Brown music, you stop filling in the blanks and wanting to worry about and stressing over soundstage, which I think is the most overrated aspect of judging, especially at the shows, but also these speakers and whatnot, because a lot of what this soundstage is, you know, studio mixed in. It's not an omni mic orchestra where you know where everything in theory is. These are fabricated sound staging events anyway, depending on if they do miking the drum kit with an ancillary mic up here to get that sound staging, or they just mic it right on the drums or inside the drum. Outside, there's so many ways to create different sound effects that when you stress about sound staging elements and then the room, you know, that's another thing that can be very confusing in terms of attributing it too much to the equipment. It's so many other things that may stress you out about sound staging. And so what Greg Brown really does is he paints a picture of the song in your head such that you're not worried about where this instrument is, that is, with normal songs where you're not knowing the lyrics or you're not into that side of it. Your brain is now processing, wanting to know where everything is just to get something going, you know, the visual aspect, imaginary aspect. But what he captures is your imagination with his lyrics such that you're not caring about that, or at least I'm not. My imagination is now not where the drums are and instruments are. Mine is filling in the blanks now with the scene he's painting with his songs. So it kind of is one of those things that reinforces what I should really be thinking about with music I like in audiophile, and also in the system what I should be judging. And the system that lets me transport myself into visualizing what he's trying to communicate with his lyrics is, you know, always a thumbs up, a subliminal tell that tells you it's a great room. Another one that has very similar characteristics of excellent quality of music, fun room, great guys, great product is the Accora room. I've now seen in multiple shows. Even pre-COVID I saw them and could tell their potential was great. Now they're getting the accolades I think they deserve. You know, if you're talking about a point source box speaker and the best in the world, like I think Rockports are and a lot of others that can maximize the strengths of point source box and mitigate almost all the weaknesses. And if I ever went back to point source box, what I'd be looking at, what brands would I be looking at? The Alta, you know, this the Accora, and we played the smaller ones today, which you don't get to see it that much. Normally the rooms that they have are so big that their biggest models are the ones playing more suited to those rooms. But it was great today to hear the smaller ones actually perform admirably in that oversized room for those. And so they're at a much more reasonable price point for some people's budgets. And actually with that stand, you could argue it's even more attractive than the bigger ones. So there's a couple of advantages if you have a small room that might be your best bet. And it's a very balanced speaker, doesn't call too much attention to itself in a sizzly way, but it calls attention to itself in being one that you like to just sit there and listen to and enjoy the music. It's not hyper etched, it's not, you know, too boomy, it's just balanced, coherent, very nice job. Really like the guys from Accora as well, so thumbs up to them. Now, and also the Prana Fidelity room, I'm coming up with a bunch of names, but really go back and watch my videos and you can kind of tell which ones I really like by the time I spent in there, how much I engage with the people. There are some that I just don't have time to do all that. So if I left out any, maybe I'll do a supplementary video because I don't want to leave anybody out. But I did want to give you guys my little summary for now of what rooms I really liked, and hopefully if you get the chance to check out these brands, you know, you will see some of the same things I'm seeing with them. If not, you know, leave some comments if you see or heard anything different than what I heard. I know a lot of you were at the show, and it was great meeting many of you, so don't hesitate ever. If you see me, say hi. And I think I might go now to that Pacific Audio Show after hearing all the people that are going and some of the cool things there, so I gotta go book that next. All right guys, hope you enjoyed this coverage, and I'll see you back here soon.